The quiet inhale of a humid June morning in 1990 feels like a forgotten breath now. That day the silence breaks, shatters actually, though no one hears the sound it makes inside. The sun is already painting the kitchen in warm gold stripes, ignorant of the shadow about to fall. She is just a girl then, 7 years old, humming tunelessly as she pours cereal. Her small brother, just 4, chattering about cartoons at her elbow. This is the core of her world. This sunny room, this sticky sweetness, this bright, innocent face beside her. He is safe here, always safe. If you've ever seen someone undervalued like this, hit like and let us know in the comments what you would do. The familiar rhythm of the house is a comforting heartbeat. Mom is rattling dishes. The coffee maker hisses a steady tune. Dad's newspaper rustles from the living room. She is watching her brother struggle with his spoon, his small brow furrowed in concentration, sticky milk already forming a ring on the table around his bowl. He looks up, his eyes wide and blue like hers, a shy, crooked smile just starting. That is the image searing itself behind her eyelids, the last clear picture the morning allows her. It's right after that, seconds maybe, the air shifts. It's subtle at first, like the pressure dropping before a storm. The light seems to dim just a fraction. His chair scrapes back, a small thud. Then quiet. Too quiet. She turns, expecting to see him wandering towards the toys, already forgetting breakfast. The chair is empty. His bowl sits, half full, the milk still pooling. Her eyes scan the kitchen, a quick, dismissive search. He isn't there. He must be just around the corner, by the living room entrance, hiding maybe. A small laugh bubbles up, ready to call out his name in mock surprise. "I see you," she thinks, already moving from her seat. She rounds the corner, peering into the living room, where Dad sits. He isn't there either. The laugh dies in her throat. "Mom, where's brother's name?" Her voice is thin, a strange, reedy sound she doesn't recognize. Mom appears, wiping her hands on a towel, a mild query on her face. "He was just with you." They both look back into the kitchen, then quickly down the small hallway towards the bedrooms. "He must be in his room," Mom says, her tone still casual, but a flicker of something new touches her eyes. They check his room. Empty. Her room. Empty. The bathroom door is open, the room bare. The casual search tightens. The heartbeat of the house falters, then begins to pound a frantic rhythm. Dad is on his feet now, the newspaper forgotten. Did he go outside? His voice is sharp, laced with an urgency that makes her stomach clench. They split up. A sudden, chaotic scattering. Mom calls his name, a little louder each time, the sound beginning to crack with worry. Dad is already checking the back door, then the front. She stands frozen by the hallway, her small hands pressed flat against the wall, her heart hammering against her ribs. Where is he? The thought pulses raw and terrified. The air is thick, heavy with a fear she doesn't understand, but feels deep in her bones. A single, forgotten toy truck sits by the empty spot where he was just eating, a silent witness to his sudden, inexplicable disappearance. Outside, the sun is still shining, but the light feels cold now. Someone is calling his name again, louder this time, a desperate sound ripping through the morning calm. And the front door is swinging open, revealing the quiet, tree-lined street beyond. The search is spilling out now, a wave of frantic energy breaking against the confines of the yard. People are fanning across the lawn, their heads swiveling, eyes scanning every bush, every shadow beneath the towering oaks. The air grows colder as the sun dips lower, painting the sky in bruised shades of purple and orange. Then, cars begin pulling up along the curb, one by one, then in clusters. Neighbors are arriving, their faces tight with concern, adding more bodies to the growing search party. Hushed questions ripple through the crowd. Have you seen him? Where could he be? The sounds multiply. Urgent voices calling a name, the rustle of leaves as hands part branches, the low murmur of rising fear. And then, the wail. Distant at first, a mournful cry on the wind, growing steadily louder, sharper. Sirens. Red and blue lights begin strobing in the distance, reflecting off parked cars, painting the street in a frantic, pulsing glow. The first police cruiser slides to a stop, its lights flashing violently, followed by another, then another. Officers are emerging, their uniforms crisp and authoritative against the chaos. They move with a different kind of urgency, their voices calm but firm as they begin talking to the adults, their eyes taking in the scene. The street is a chaotic tableau now, a mix of worried neighbors, wide-eyed children peeking from porches, and uniformed officers trying to bring order to the escalating panic. Questions are flying. Where was he last seen? Who was he with? Was anything unusual happening? The sister stands near the front steps, pressing herself back against the railing, a small still point in the swirling activity. Her heart is a frantic drumbeat against her ribs. She watches the adults, the way their faces fall when they don't have answers, the helplessness in their gestures. She feels tiny, invisible, swept aside by the enormity of what is unfolding. They are grappling with something unimaginable, something that feels impossibly vast and terrifying. And her child's world is shattering around her. She desperately wishes she could help, could point to something, anything, but her mind is a blank, echoing with the silence of her brother's absence. More people are joining the search, their flashlights cutting beams through the rapidly deepening twilight, illuminating patches of sidewalk, peering under bushes. They're calling his name, their voices strained, their movements quickening with growing desperation. But there is nothing, no sign, just empty space where a moment ago there was laughter and play. A cold, heavy weight of dread is settling over everyone. This isn't just a child wandering off down the street. This is something else. Officers are starting to cordon off the area closest to the house with bright yellow tape. A stark visual declaration that something serious is happening, that this is no longer just a neighborhood search. They are talking in low tones, their movements precise, but their faces still hold a flicker of the same fear visible on the neighbors. They are starting the official investigation, gathering details, talking to everyone who saw anything. But the initial minutes are yielding nothing concrete, no easy answers, just a void. The night is now fully upon them, and the void remains vast and terrifying. The air hangs heavy and still inside the house now. Every room echoes with the absence, filled not with sound but with a profound, aching silence. Footsteps tread softly, as if afraid to disturb the quiet that has settled like a shroud. Dust motes dance in the lonely shafts of sunlight, piercing the drawn blinds, highlighting the untouched surfaces where toys once lay scattered. A specific chair sits empty at the kitchen table. Eyes flick towards it, then quickly away. The rhythm of life has broken, replaced by a slow, mechanical motion of getting through the hours. The parents move like ghosts through the rooms, their faces etched with a weariness that goes soul deep. They speak in hushed tones, if they speak at all. Laughter feels like a distant alien concept. The mother traces the edge of a framed photograph on the mantelpiece, her fingers trembling. The father sits in the living room, staring ahead, seeing something far beyond the wall. A palpable despair clings to the furniture, to the very fabric of the drapes. It's a physical weight, pressing down on everyone. Her sister, Sarah, wanders through this silent landscape, a small figure lost in the enormity of it all. Guilt gnaws at her, a sharp, persistent pain in her chest. She keeps seeing snippets from that last day, a silly argument they had, a moment she didn't share, a promise she didn't keep. What if she had done something differently? What if she hadn't been distracted? Confusion clouds her thoughts. Where could her sibling be? Why isn't anyone finding them? At night, nightmares torment her sleep. Dark shapes chase her. The familiar face of her sibling is always just out of reach, fading into shadow. She wakes up crying into her pillow, the silence of the house only amplifying her fear. This monstrous event is leaving a deep, ugly scar on her young life, stealing the light from her childhood, poisoning family dinners, turning birthdays into painful reminders. Days bleed into weeks. The initial flurry of activity from the police slows, then stops. Posters begin to fade on lampposts. The phone doesn't ring with new leads anymore. The case is growing cold, they say, a phrase that feels impossibly cruel. It leaves behind a gaping, open wound in the family, a constant ache that refuses to heal. There is no closure, only this endless, agonizing weight, coupled with a burning, bitter sense of injustice. How can life simply continue when such a vital part of their world is missing, swallowed by the quiet that now fills every corner? The stillness feels like a betrayal. But buried beneath the layers of grief and numbness, a small, stubborn ember of something else begins to glow in Sarah's young heart, a refusal to let the silence win. The city lights blur outside the train window, streaks of gold and white racing past as she travels. Decades stretch out behind her, a vast, unpredictable ocean separating this quiet journey from the summer heat of 1990. Her hand traces the worn edges of a small, faded photograph tucked into her wallet. His face, caught forever at 8 years old, grinning with missing teeth. It's not just a picture. It's an anchor, a constant, heavy presence in a life built around its absence. She's navigating her 30s now, a woman moving through the world, yet the girl standing on that porch steps is never far away. Relationships often feel like navigating a minefield. She's trying, truly trying, to connect, to build closeness. But there's this invisible wall, a part of her perpetually holding back, guarded by the phantom pain of a loss nobody else fully grasps. She's choosing solitude more often, finding solace in the predictable rhythm of her own thoughts. A silent pact with the memory that shapes her. Sleep offers little true rest. The same nightmare, variations on the same theme of frantic searching plays on repeat. She wakes up gasping, the echo of her child's voice still ringing in the dark room, the feeling of his small hand slipping from hers horribly real. This constant ache, this not knowing, is a physical weight she carries. She finds herself compulsively organizing, sorting, trying to bring order to a life that feels fundamentally disordered. A desperate attempt to control something. Her apartment is minimalist, uncluttered, a stark contrast to the chaos that unfolded long ago. Dust motes dance in the single beam of light slicing through the blinds, illuminating her quiet, methodical movements as she pores over old newspaper clippings, maps, anything that might hold a forgotten detail. She's not openly searching anymore, not with the frantic energy of her youth, but a quiet fire burns within her, a stubborn refusal to let the mystery win. The years haven't dulled the edges of the pain, only reshaped them into a constant, low hum beneath the surface of her adult life. She's watching people, listening to conversations she shouldn't be privy to, a subtle shift in her gaze betraying the deep-seated need for answers. Somewhere she knows someone holds a piece of the puzzle, and she's patiently, relentlessly waiting for the moment it might appear. The train slows, pulling into a station. The screech of metal on metal, momentarily drowning out the whispers of the past, but the determination in her eyes remains. She is sifting through the cardboard box, the smell of aged paper and forgotten dust clinging to her fingers. Each photograph she lifts is a tiny portal, his face beaming out from faded colors, a younger, carefree version of the brother she holds onto so tightly. Her hand is trembling slightly as she traces the outline of his smile in one picture. A picnic blanket spread out behind him, sunlight dappling through leaves. She's narrating the moment softly, just to herself, her voice a low, steady current in the quiet room, keeping the story alive. She's talking about the ridiculous hat he wore, the way he laughed so hard he snorted milk from his nose, the pure, unadulterated joy of that ordinary afternoon. This conscious act of remembrance feels like weaving a lifeline back to him, a way to anchor him in the present, even though he isn't physically here. Sometimes the hope surges, a bright, defiant flame. She's spending hours at the computer, designing flyers for missing persons awareness events, reaching out to online communities, her fingers flying across the keyboard with urgent energy. She's trying to translate her private pain into public action, believing that if enough people see his face, hear his name, someone, somewhere, might remember something. But then the despair crashes in, a heavy, suffocating wave. It's in the quiet moments between emails, the blankness after closing the photo box, the chilling silence of the phone line. The sheer weight of the unknown presses down, threatening to extinguish that flicker of hope. It feels like two opposing tides are constantly pulling within her. Hope, fighting against the encroaching darkness of possibility. Yet, through it all, the connection endures, a silent, unbreakable thread woven into the very fabric of her being. It transcends the passing years, the lack of answers, the growing ache in her chest. She feels him, sometimes as a faint echo, sometimes as a powerful presence guiding her steps. It is this deep, enduring bond that prevents her from giving up, that fuels her relentless pursuit. But there's also this persistent, gnawing feeling, the sense that his story isn't complete, that there are vital pieces missing from the complex, tragic puzzle she's trying to solve. It's not just a void, it's a shape, a space where information should be. She runs her fingers over an old map pinned to the wall, tracing routes they used to take, a question forming in her mind about a place they never visited, a place he mentioned just weeks before he vanished. She is searching not just for him, but for the truth, the parts of the narrative that remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered. She leans closer to the map, a specific spot now holding her gaze, a possibility taking root. 33 years are quietly passing. She is arranging boxes in the cool, dusty quiet of the attic, the late afternoon sun slanting through a high window, illuminating lazy motes dancing in the air. Her life is neat now, ordered, the edges smoothed by time, grief a dull ache she carries rather than a searing wound. She is reaching for a cardboard box tucked far back, labeled simply, Misk, Old Family. It feels light, papery dust coats her fingers, a familiar scent of aged paper and forgotten things filling her nostrils. Pulling it down, she sets it gently on the worn floorboards. Opening the flaps, her eyes scan the contents. Faded photographs of picnics long past, a bundle of childhood drawings tied with brittle string, a small, handcrafted wooden bird, something her sister had meticulously carved one summer afternoon, her tongue sticking out in concentration. Her fingers brush against the smooth, cool wood of the tiny bird. The jolt is physical, sharp and sudden, like a blow to the chest. The air catches in her throat. The steady rhythm of her breathing halts. Decades fall away in an instant. She isn't just holding a dusty toy, she is holding a tangible piece of her sister, a link to a life brutally cut short, a life she has spent over 3 decades mourning, the case file gathering dust on some forgotten shelf. Her heart is suddenly hammering against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the attic's silence. The quiet order of her current life is shattering around her. It is not a dull ache now. It is a burning fire, reignited with shocking intensity. How could she have let so much time pass? How could she have let the world move on? The grief is no longer passive. It is active, fueling a fierce, desperate determination. The years of unanswered questions, the gnawing uncertainty, the sheer injustice of it all are coalescing into a single potent force within her. Her hands are trembling slightly as she cradles the small wooden bird, its smooth surface feeling impossibly real. The light shifts, deepening the shadows in the attic, but her focus is absolute, fixed on the spark now blazing inside her. She is seeing not just the past, but a path forward, a path she knows she must finally walk, no matter the cost. Her gaze hardens, eyes narrowing slightly as 1,000 fragmented memories and long-buried facts begin swirling to the surface of her mind. She sits surrounded by the ghosts of the past, dust motes swirling like tiny dancers in the single shaft of sunlight piercing the gloom of the archive room. Stacks of boxes loom, labeled with dates that feel impossibly distant. 1990. The air hangs heavy with the scent of aging paper, a dry, brittle smell that catches in her throat. Her fingers, smudged with grime, carefully turn pages, sifting through photocopies of police reports, witness statements typed on clattering machines, faded photographs she can barely make out. It's a slow, tedious process, a stark contrast to the frantic energy that had driven her before. Now it's methodical, almost meditative, but the tension coils tight in her chest, a constant low thrumming. Is she wasting her time? Is anything here more than just echoes? Hours bleed into one another. Her eyes ache. Scanning line, it's like searching for a single grain of sand on a vast beach. Doubt gnaws at her, cold and persistent. Why am I doing this? They looked at all of this. They found nothing. Then, tucked into the margin of a summary report detailing witness interviews from the surrounding neighborhood, her gaze snags on something. It's a tiny, almost illegible handwritten annotation, scribbled next to a note about a witness who mentioned seeing a car. The official report dismissed the sighting as too vague, too far away, but the scribble adds 3 letters and a number. Apt 3B. It's just a question mark, seemingly an officer's fleeting thought or a reminder to check something trivial. Apartment 3B where? The report doesn't say. It's nothing, less than nothing, just a faint, almost accidental whisper from the past. Yet her heart gives a sudden, sharp lurch. It's irrational, instinctual. That tiny, orphaned note feels different. It wasn't part of the official narrative, just a stray mark on the page. She leans closer, tracing the faded ink with a fingertip. The dust motes dance more furiously now, catching the light like sparks. A tremor runs through her hands. It's such a minuscule detail, easily overlooked, perhaps meaningless. But in the vast emptiness of the cold case file, this faint clue feels like a thread, fragile but real. A flicker of hope ignites, warm and unexpected, pushing back the doubt. She's holding her breath, the silence of the archive amplifying the frantic beating of her own heart. Where is apartment 3B? Is it connected to the witness, or something else entirely? She carefully folds the photocopy, the dry paper crinkling softly, knowing she has to find out. The old pickup truck slows, gravel spitting as she pulls off the main road onto a barely visible track. Tall, wild grass whips against the sides, scratching a rough rhythm. The air grows thick with the scent of decay and overgrown earth. Ahead, barely visible through a tangle of unchecked vines and skeletal branches, sits a house. It isn't just old, it feels forgotten, a structure actively being reclaimed by the forest around it. Paint peels in long, sad strips from the siding, revealing patches of gray, weathered wood beneath. Windows gape open like vacant eyes, some panes shattered, others completely missing. A sense of profound neglect hangs heavy, suffocating the slight breeze. This is the address the cryptic note pointed to. The whispering property. She's killed the engine, and now only the rustling of leaves answers the silence. Getting out, her boots sink slightly into the damp, soft ground. A rusted, ornate gate hangs askew on one hinge, a silent, broken invitation. She pushes it gently. It groans a protest that echoes unnervingly in the stillness. This place, it's breathing history. Her breath catches in her throat. Stepping through, she's entering a different time, one soaked in stillness and secrets. The path leading to the house is choked with weeds, forcing her to push through knee-high growth. Cobwebs brush against her face, sticky and unsettling. The air is cooler here, somehow, holding a chill that has nothing to do with the weather. Approaching the front porch feels like an intrusion. The steps sag under her weight, each creak a loud crack in the silence. The front door is slightly ajar, a dark, beckoning maw. She hesitates, her heart pounding against her ribs. The house isn't just dilapidated. It feels watchful. She can almost hear whispers on the wind, sighing through the broken windows. The murmurs of lives lived here. Perhaps a life that ended here. It's an overwhelming sense of sorrow and dread. What is this place hiding? She reaches the door frame, the wood rough and splintered beneath her fingertips. Pushing it open further, she sees the darkness inside, thick and absolute, carrying the faint, unsettling scent of dust and something else, something colder, heavier. The floorboards inside the entrance hall look unstable, a dark abyss waiting just beyond the threshold. Her boots are crunching on unseen debris beneath the thick layer of decaying leaves. She's pushing through a wall of brambles, the thorny branches snagging her clothes, her skin. The air here feels different, heavy and still, carrying the scent of damp earth and something else, something old and neglected. She's following the subtle shift in the landscape, the almost imperceptible dip the clue hinted at. Her heart is hammering against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat accompanying the rustling of leaves and the snap of twigs underfoot. Doubt keeps trying to creep in, whispering that she's chasing ghosts, but a stronger instinct pulls her forward, a magnetic certainty centering on this forgotten corner of the property. Then, the foliage thins just slightly, not clearing entirely, but offering a tantalizing glimpse beyond the tangled barrier. Her breath catches. Peeking through the dense green curtain is the shape of something deliberate, something built, but now yielding to the relentless reclaim of nature. It's a small structure, partially collapsed, its wooden planks weathered to a silvery gray, draped in thick, ancient vines that seem to hold it together as much as they tear it apart. Sunlight, dappled and fractured by the leaves, catches on the textured surface of the wood, highlighting streaks of moss and shadow. This isn't the main goal, not the final reveal, but a wave of potent certainty washes over her. This is the confirmation. The clue wasn't misleading. It led her precisely to this forgotten marker. She carefully pushes aside the last of the scratching branches, stepping into the small, overgrown space in front of the structure. The ground here is uneven, littered with fallen branches and scattered stones. The silence is profound, broken only by the buzzing of insects and her own slightly ragged breathing. Looking at the decaying shed, or whatever it once was, feels like looking back through time. It exudes an aura of abandonment, yet also of enduring purpose. As if it stood here, waiting. A prickle of fear threads through her rising excitement. Otherwise, what else has this place held onto? What secrets are still buried here? The air feels thick with the weight of the past, pressing in. She runs her hand lightly over a thick, gnarled vine wrapped around a corner post, feeling the rough texture, the sheer resilience of the plant slowly consuming the work of human hands. This structure is more than just confirmation. It feels like a threshold, a tangible link to the history she is uncovering. The path forward is becoming clearer, drawing her deeper into the property's hidden heart. She is pushing through thick, tangled brambles, the kind that tear at clothes and skin, her boots sinking slightly into damp earth. The air hangs heavy and still, smelling of decay and hidden things. They are deep within the neglected grounds, far from the manicured paths, following a barely there trail. Then, the growth begins to thin, not clearing into open space, but revealing something else entirely. Tucked back, half swallowed by ivy and shadowed by an ancient drooping oak, a structure emerges. It's not a building, but a crumbling section of stone wall, moss-covered and clearly forgotten by time. And from this wall, defying logic, is a staircase. It's made of rough-hewn stone, uneven and worn smooth in places by weather, not feet. Moss carpets the lower steps, and ferns sprout from cracks between the stones. It ascends maybe 10 steps before turning sharply, disappearing behind a curtain of leaves, leading nowhere obvious, just up into the dense canopy. There is no building at the top, no path connecting to it. It simply is, rising from the ruins of this forgotten corner. Her breath catches. A gasp escapes her lips, sharp and involuntary. Her hand flies to her chest, clutching her worn jacket. Her eyes fix on the stones, tracing their shape, the way they angle slightly, the familiar pattern of the cracks. It isn't just a staircase, it's the staircase. Not a literal reproduction, but a perfect, visceral echo of the one her brother was always drawing. The impossible staircase that led to his imaginary worlds. The one he'd describe in hushed, excited whispers. A wave crashes over her. A torrent of shared secrets. Hushed laughter hidden from parents. The smell of his crayons and paper. The unique slant of his handwriting. Her vision blurs for a moment, the present receding, replaced by vivid snapshots of a past steeped in his presence. The rough stone feels like the texture he'd try to capture on paper. The way the light catches it, reminding her of how he'd shade his drawings. This isn't a mere coincidence. It feels profoundly personal, a sign, a direct line connecting his memory to this desolate place. Recognition isn't just happening in her mind. It's a physical ache, a certainty that settles deep in her bones. Tears well up, hot and fast, blurring the edges of the steps before her. This staircase, leading nowhere, forgotten by the world, feels like a physical manifestation of his spirit, waiting here, hidden away. An overwhelming pull draws her forward, her feet already taking an involuntary step towards the moss-laden stone. There is no question of what she has to do next. She is standing now at the foot of the main staircase, her hand lifting slowly, hovering inches from the worn banister. Dust motes dance like tiny, forgotten spirits in the narrow shaft of light piercing the high landing window. The wood feels cool under her fingertips as she finally makes contact, splintered in places, smoothed by countless hands over untold years. This isn't just a way to get from one floor to another. It's a channel, a memory made manifest. She is feeling the grain, tracing the faint indentations that could be mere imperfections, but in her mind, they are echoes. Perhaps the mark of his hand gripping it, maybe where a small toy once scraped. She starts to climb, each step a deliberate act of connection. The old treads groan softly beneath her weight, a sound that feels familiar, rooted deep in the house's bones and her own subconscious. She is not just walking up, she is walking into something, a past layered onto the present. This staircase was his route, his express pathway from the world below to the private space above. He ran up these steps when he was excited, maybe lingered on them when he was sad. It feels imprinted with his energy, a silent witness to countless moments she might never know. The air here is different, thicker, holding the scent of aged wood and the faint, sweet decay of time. Her breath catches in her throat. She is seeing him now, not a clear image, but a sense of movement. A flash of color on these very stairs. He was here. The thought is a physical ache. Midway up, a particular step dips slightly, more worn than the others. She pauses, her foot pressing down, feeling the deep hollow. Why this step? Was it a shortcut he always took, hopping past one? Or a spot where he often sat, perhaps tying a shoe, or waiting for someone, or simply lost in thought? It feels like a silent question the house is posing. Tears are blurring her vision slightly, the old wood wavy and indistinct. She reaches the landing, the light here brighter, yet somehow the feeling of his proximity intensifies. She runs her hand along the upper banister, towards the wall. There, just at hand height, is a faint, almost invisible scratch, distinct from the random wear. It's small, purposeful. Her heart lurches. It looks like an initial, his initial. It feels like a sequin left just for her, a tiny signature on the fabric of time. An intense wave of grief and profound connection washes over her, anchoring her completely to this spot. The weight of his absence is crushing, yet finding this tiny mark feels like finding a whisper from across the veil. Her fingers trace the faint line again and again, finding a fragile strength in the shared moment. However distant, she closes her eyes, breathing him in, feeling the silence of the house press in, before opening them and looking down the corridor the staircase leads to. She is kneeling now, right at the crumbling base of the stone steps, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. Dust motes dance in the shafts of light, piercing the overgrown canopy above. Her fingers are sifting through the gritty soil, meticulously, inch by painstaking inch. The ground here is packed hard in some places, loose and disturbed in others, a silent narrative etched in the dirt. She feels the cool, rough texture of loose stones, the slickness of fallen leaves. Her eyes are scanning, absorbing every detail, the way the moss creeps over the lower steps, the small, hardy weeds pushing through cracks, the fine layer of gray dust settled on everything. There's a faint indentation here, a small, almost imperceptible scuff mark near the bottom step, as if something was dragged or pushed. Her heart is giving a small, involuntary lurch. She leans closer, her breath held tight in her chest, examining the pattern of the disturbance. It's subtle, easily missed, but it tells a story of movement, of something happening right here. Her gaze follows the line of the scuff, leading slightly away from the steps. Then her fingers brush against something unnatural, something small and hard, buried just beneath the surface. A jolt of anticipation, sharp and immediate, shoots through her. She carefully brushes away more dirt, revealing a small, faded piece of fabric. It's a dull, muted color, possibly blue or green, and feels surprisingly thick, almost like canvas. It's torn at the edges, frayed and aged by the elements, but there's a familiar stiffness to it, a pattern of threads that sparks a flicker of recognition. This isn't just debris. It feels like it belongs to something, or someone. The implications ripple through her. Someone was here, and they left this behind. She picks it up, turning the fragment over in her palm. It's small enough to be part of a pocket or a strap. A knot is tightening in her stomach. Why is it here, buried? Was it lost, or left deliberately? The air feels colder suddenly, despite the filtering sun. This tiny scrap of material, lying hidden in the dust, is whispering possibilities, piecing together a fragmented image of the past. She is tracing the frayed edge with her thumb, a profound sense of connection overriding the sterile act of investigation. There's a weight to this small discovery, a pull that is drawing her deeper into the story the dust is hiding. She is looking up from the scrap, her eyes scanning the steps again, searching for any other sign, any other echo in the silence. Where did the scuff lead? What happened just beyond the steps? She is sitting amidst the chaos, the living room floor a landscape of scattered papers, printouts of photos from the scene, and her meticulously scribbled notes. The air feels thick, heavy with the weight of unanswered questions and the faint, lingering scent of stale coffee. Moonlight streams through the window, casting long, distorted shadows across the floor, making the evidence feel alive, whispering secrets she strains to hear. She runs a hand through her hair, eyes narrowed, staring at the collection of details from the staircase. The tiny snag of fabric caught on a splintered railing, the peculiar scuff mark digging into the aged wood, the faint, almost imperceptible indentation near the bottom step. They are distinct pieces, fragments of a violent mosaic. Her fingers trace the lines on a crumpled piece of paper, connecting the fabric type to a specific kind of garment, the scuff pattern suggesting a certain footwear. Her mind is a whirlwind, spinning through possibilities. An accident? The angles don't quite fit. The force implied by the scuff mark seems too deliberate, the indentation too specific to be a simple stumble. A knot tightens in her stomach. She is holding the earlier information now, the victim's routine, the strange phone call from that afternoon, the missing item from their desk. She is overlaying the timelines, searching for points of intersection. A sudden jolt goes through her. The indentation. It's not just a mark. It's the shape of something specific that would leave that kind of impression under pressure. And it aligns spatially with the direction of the scuff. It clicks. The pieces slam together in her mind like crashing tectonic plates. This wasn't a fall. This was something else entirely. Her breath hitches. The potential narrative crystallizes with terrifying clarity. An altercation, a struggle beginning higher up, forced movement down the stairs, the specific mark left by an object wielded or carried. The sheer, calculated violence of it washes over her cold and sharp. Empathy floods her senses, a profound sadness for the victim's final moments. She is seeing the struggle, the fear, the deliberate actions of another person. The room feels colder now, the shadows deeper. The picture is no longer blurry. It's horribly, brutally clear. Foul play is undeniable. And the clues, small as they are, aren't random. They belong to someone, pointing not just to what happened, but perhaps to who made it happen. Her gaze sharpens, focusing on the implications of the specific fabric, the type of footwear, the object that left the mark. They aren't just evidence of a crime. They are fingerprints, leading directly to a potential individual or group. The photograph is yellowed at the edges, crinkled where it's been folded and unfolded countless times. Her finger traces the smiling face, younger, unaware. Beside him, looming slightly, is another figure. The investigation has led here, to a name whispered in old interviews, a face half forgotten until now. It's him. The man connected to the mill, to the shadowy figure glimpsed near the staircase all those years ago. He lives not far from the old industrial site, in a small, weathered house on a street lined with overgrown trees, a place that feels stuck in time, perhaps intentionally. In 1990, he was just another face in the crowd, a quiet presence at the edge of their young lives. Now, he's a name attached to a growing dread, a knot tightening in her stomach. Disbelief wars with a cold, hard certainty. It can't be. But the pieces fit, sickeningly, into place. The fear is a physical weight, pressing down on her chest, stealing the air. This is no longer a ghost hunt. It's personal, horrifyingly real. Anger surges, hot and potent, burning away the fear for a moment. Anger at him, at the secrets, at the lost years, at the unimaginable loss of her brother. Her hands are shaking, but her jaw sets with an unyielding resolve. Justice. It echoes in her mind, sharp and clear. Vengeance? The thought flickers, dark and tempting, but she pushes it down. Justice. It has to be justice. She stands by the window, watching the afternoon light fade, painting long shadows across the street that leads to his house. The air feels thick, charged with unspoken history. A car passes slowly, its headlights cutting brief arcs in the gathering dusk. A mundane sound in the face of this monumental discovery. She feels a tremor run through her, a mix of sheer terror and fierce determination. There's no turning back now. The path ahead is terrifying, fraught with unknown dangers, but the pull towards confronting the shadow of the past is irresistible, a current dragging her forward, step by deliberate step. The question hangs heavy in the air: how to approach this darkness? The cold, sterile air of the small room bites at her skin, carrying the faint metallic tang of disinfectant. Fluorescent lights above hum with a low, relentless drone, casting a harsh, unforgiving glow on the worn surface of the table between them. She is walking slowly, deliberately, every muscle taut with a tension that vibrates through her, a sharp counterpoint to the carefully controlled steadiness of her steps. Her fingers are gripping the edge of the thick file, the cardboard cool and solid against her trembling hand. He is sitting across the table, seemingly calm, but his eyes are darting, tiny movements giving away the edge of unease he tries to conceal behind a practiced mask of indifference. She is reaching the table now, pulling out a chair with a soft scrape on the linoleum floor. The sound is deafening in the quiet room. Her heart is hammering against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing in her ears, threatening to drown out everything else. This is it. The moment years in the making. The culmination of sleepless nights, quiet whispers, and undeniable evidence painstakingly gathered. She is placing a file on the table, sliding it forward just a few inches. The weight of it feels immense, not just paper and photos, but the accumulated truth, the hidden pain, the beginning of justice. She is looking across at him, meeting his gaze directly for the first time. His expression is shifting, the flicker of unease deepening into something sharper, harder to read. Fear, recognition, denial. Her voice is steady as she speaks, the words clear and unwavering despite the dryness in her throat. She is not shouting, not accusing wildly, but laying out the facts, piece by damning piece. Her hand is moving, pointing to specific documents, photographs, timelines within the file. She is describing the evidence, recounting the sequence of events that can no longer be denied. He is shifting in his seat, his hands tightening into fists on the table, his knuckles turning white. The calm facade is cracking, splintering under the pressure of undeniable truth. His eyes are wide now, the darting movement gone, replaced by a frozen stare of shock and dawning realization. He is opening his mouth, perhaps to deny, to protest, but no sound is coming out. The air in the room is thick, heavy with unspoken history and the crushing weight of exposure. She is watching his face, seeing the moment the wall comes crashing down, the carefully constructed reality dissolving into dust. This is the peak of her courage, the fearless unveiling of the hidden. She feels a surge of strength, a quiet power in bringing light to the darkness. The dramatic moment is here, suspended in this charged silence. His face is contorting now, a mixture of panic and something close to desperation. The Justice Act is beginning, not with a bang, but with the quiet, irrefutable presence of truth laid bare on a cold table. The distinct sound of a lock clicking softly is echoing from the door behind him. The air crackles with the tension finally released. The truth, raw and brutal, hangs heavy over the fragmented stones of the treacherous staircase. He stands there, exposed, his carefully constructed facade crumbling like the very steps that claimed her brother. The full picture emerges, the instability he knew about, the deliberate actions that led to the accident, the callous decision to conceal it, leveraging the history of the place to bury the secret deeper than any foundation stone. It wasn't just neglect, it was a betrayal of trust, culminating in a tragedy hidden in plain sight. Uniformed figures are moving in, their presence a stark contrast to the ancient architecture. He is being led away, his protests weak against the weight of undeniable evidence, facing the immediate consequences, public shame searing his face, legal processes beginning to grind forward, the full weight of accountability crashing down. She watches him go, a strange stillness settling upon her. The buzzing in her ears is fading. Replaced by the echo of her brother's laughter, she suddenly remembers. A wave of relief washes over her, so profound it feels like collapsing, like the decades of carrying this burden are finally being lifted from her shoulders. Her hands, which had been clenched into fists, slowly relax, fingers trembling. But relief is not singular. Tears are silently tracking paths down her cheeks, a mix of sorrow for the brother she lost so long ago, and the pain of knowing exactly how it happened. Anger flashes hot and brief in her gut, a violent reaction to the deceit, before dissolving into a deep, aching sadness. This is it. The justice she has sought, the culmination of her relentless pursuit. It feels like a chapter slamming shut, the final page turned, the narrative of her brother's fate completed. A sense of accomplishment, hard-won and heavy, anchors her. But the completion doesn't erase the emptiness. The ache remains, a phantom limb where her brother should be, a scar left by the years of searching and the brutal reality found. She takes a step towards the staircase, not to climb it, but to touch the cold, weathered stone. Her fingertips trace the rough texture, a physical connection to the place where her life fractured. The stone feels real, solid, unlike the ghosts she's been chasing. The setting sun casts long, dramatic shadows across the scene, painting the stone in hues of orange and deep purple, highlighting the cracks and worn edges of both the structure and her own heart. Justice is served, the truth is unearthed, but the quiet aftermath stretches before her, vast and uncertain. How does she navigate a future that no longer revolves around this single, consuming quest? The weight of the answer is beginning to settle. The quiet settles differently now. Not the heavy silence of secrets, but a space where truth echoes softly. She is breathing, really breathing, the air filling her lungs without the constant pressure on her chest. The raw wound is still there, a deep ache behind her ribs, but the infection of the unknown is draining away. Understanding her brother's final moments, seeing the sequence laid bare, is a deep anguish she welcomes now. It hurts with the clean, sharp pain of healing, not the festering confusion that consumed her before. She sits by the window, the afternoon sun warming her skin. Outside, leaves are swaying gently on trees, a simple rhythm she hadn't noticed for so long. Her mind is replaying fragments, not the terrifying nightmares that woke her, but the cold facts, the documented truth. It feels like lifting a veil, revealing the harsh landscape beneath, but also the path leading out. The staircase. It is no longer just a structure etched in her memory as the place where everything shattered. It is the ascent to clarity, the physical link in the chain of events that ultimately led to this fragile piece. She is seeing it differently. The worn steps, the familiar railing, they were not just boundaries of loss, but the very clues, the silent witnesses that finally spoke. Processing the trauma is not a single moment, but a continuous flow, like waves pulling back from the shore, leaving behind polished stones. She is feeling the anger, the profound sadness, but also a dawning sense of liberation. The weight of suspicion, of what if, is gone, replaced by the solemn weight of this is what happened, which paradoxically feels lighter. Her hands are resting on her lap, palms open, a gesture of release she doesn't even realize she's making. Her life is unfolding in softer hues now. She walks slower, notices the patterns of light on the floor, the texture of her worn armchair. The world outside is vibrant, moving, and she is moving with it, albeit cautiously. She is making space for memories of her brother that aren't shrouded in the mystery of his death, remembering his laugh, the way he hummed off-key while doing homework, the quiet companionship they shared. His memory is a constant presence, a guiding light rather than a shadow. She is tending a small pot of basil on her windowsill, watching the green shoots reach for the sun, a quiet act of nurturing life where before there felt only death. Looking out at the horizon, she sees not an endpoint, but a continuum. The darkness was real, it was suffocating, but she is finding her way through it, one step at a time, carrying the truth like a compass. This journey is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a quiet declaration that even in the deepest sorrow, hope is a stubborn, persistent thing, always reaching for the light. The quiet evening descends, painting the room in shades of muted gray and violet. The fragile peace from the afternoon holds, but it is layered now with the persistent, low hum of grief. It is not debilitating, but it is present. A constant companion sitting just outside the circle of immediate calm. She is feeling it spread through her limbs, a mild ache in her joints, a subtle tightness across her shoulders. There is a distribution of emotions. The relief is there, a quiet current beneath the surface, but so is the hollowness of absence, the irritation at the injustice, the lingering sadness for what can never be regained. It is a tapestry woven with threads of acceptance and sorrow, resilience and vulnerability. Her gaze is fixed on the window, watching a single star pierce the twilight. There is no sudden epiphany, No dramatic surge of emotion, just the slow, steady pulse of a heart learning to beat with its burden. She is reaching out a hand, not towards the star, but towards the space beside her, a silent acknowledgement of the void. The simple act feels heavy, weighted with years of unspoken words and shared history. There is a door in the distance of her mind, not closed and forbidding, but slightly ajar, a soft light spilling from within, suggesting not an end, but a continuation, a gentle invitation to step forward, carrying the light she has found.